I'd like to call the special council meeting. Today is Monday, October 24th. If we could all stand and recite the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Right. To make this meeting, the special meeting official, I'd ask the clerk to call the roll, please.
Gutenkopf. Here. Pezza. Here. Shea. Here. Leader.
Here.
Rose.
Here.
Graham.
Here.
Hipskin. Absent. York.
Here.
Ibo.
Here.
Healy.
Here.
Morley.
Here.
Kennedy.
Here.
Mulliner.
Here.
Wagner.
Here.
13 present, 1 absent.
13 present, 1 absent. We officially have a quorum. And I'd ask Clerk Spencer to read the recommendation on item 2, please.
It is our recommendation that the reference statement be authorized for payment by the City Council. Respectfully submitted, signed by Peter P. DeCiani III, Mayor, Donald J. Storino, City Attorney, and Thomas P. Borchard, City Manager.
All right. At this point, I ask for a motion to put this report on the floor. Alderman Morley, Alderman Mulliner, Alderman Rose. Seconds. Discussion. Alderman Mulliner.
Yeah, this is the item that we had was pulled last week from the accounts payable. It's the checks accounts payable for the law firm that we had previously, who's still doing work for us. We've now received documentation that basically explains the billing, and I see no reason not to move forward with this.
Thank you, Alderman Mulliner. Anybody else for discussion? Anybody else? Alderman Pezza.
Just a quick request, so hopefully this would never happen again. I'm just thinking, as I look through this, perhaps one of the issues was maybe a lack of communication. Wondering if we could just, I don't know, put a memo to city staff. I noticed there were several calls that didn't quite fit the description as to what we were told the previous firm would be handling. So I'm just wondering, I know Mr. Storino said this should absolutely be done and over within 30 days, which I appreciate, but in the meantime, maybe to avoid overlap or unnecessary phone calls being taken or charges, if maybe a memo could be put out to staff, just letting everyone know who's handling what and who to contact, and just clarifying more so this didn't happen again, if possible.
I don't see a problem with that, Alderman Pezza. Anybody else for discussion on this particular issue? City Manager Borchard and myself and City Attorney Storino did go through the billing on this. It does look all legitimate. There were credits made from retainers from the previous months, and we feel comfortable that this work has been done, and the vendor should be paid. So I see Alderman Shea with her hand up.
Well, yeah, and I do think the city manager, the attorney, and the mayor going over it, and because that was just a portion of it. We were just wondering about the retainer part, which I thank you for explaining that. But I think the main thing, like Alderman Pezza had said, was the transition period. We went from 30 days to 60 days. We were told it was, and at 60 days now we're over 100. I think that was where most of the concern was, is when's the end to this transition period? How long is this going to go on?
Sure. And it looks like, according to our city attorney, that this will be wrapping up. There are a couple minor issues out there, one-room schoolhouse being one of them that we're still in the process of working through. But for the most part, this should be wrapping up here shortly. I can let the city attorney talk more about that if need be, but for any clarification. But we should be wrapping up with the previous firm, but the current billing, legitimate, passed the test, and we do appreciate those that have questions, and we made sure that everything is T's are crossed and I's are dotted. So, Alderman Wagner, you have a hand up over here?
I did. I just wanted to clarify my own understanding of that. With the 60 days was not a certain timeline, and city attorney was very well spoken when originally brought on, that there was several things that the previous law firm was working on, and it was not going to take much more time than 60 days, but sometimes these legal proceedings can go a little bit longer than one would like sometimes.
Right.
So I think that was the other issue, is that they kind of went on a little bit longer than we had originally thought at the very time that Attorney Storino came on. So I don't know if the 60 days was an absolute.
Very good. And the key is we wanted the handoff to be smooth. We didn't want anything dropped. We didn't want to have a case like some of these cases where we'd have to bring a new attorney up to speed very quickly and possibly drop something in the process. So we wanted the handoff to go off as smoothly as possible. So, and I do appreciate both law firms working together to make that happen. City Attorney Storino especially for being willing to do that, and also the previous city attorney to be cooperative as well too. So, any other discussion before we call the roll on this? I'm sorry, Alderman Mulliner.
I just want to make sure that we clearly understand that, as Alderman Wagner just said, these are not necessarily going to be drop-dead dates. They'll do their best to be done on a certain time frame, but sometimes they're legal issues and they do take a little bit longer. And I think that this has been handled very professionally, and I think I have to give a lot of credit to our sitting attorney right now, because he's done a terrific job of making sure that the things that he didn't feel it would be cost-effective for him to take on, he didn't take on. He let those things go through with the existing city attorney, which was the logical thing to do. So it's been much more cost-effective us doing it the way that it was done, and I give him a lot of credit for doing that.
Thanks, Alderman Mulliner. City Manager Borchardt, I'll go to Alderman Gutenkopf.
In that regard, I just wanted to reinforce the notion. The largest component, single component on the bill in question was the Churchville Schoolhouse annexation. Frankly, that's been worked on from the firm with Mr. Spiroff's assistance. A lot of city staff support help in that regard, but Mr. Spiroff on the point. Mr. Spiroff, in our opinion, the mayor, attorney, and manager's opinion, should complete that. He's no longer with the firm Cabeza, Spiroff, Gosler, Acker, and de Blasio. That firm is no longer in existence. Mr. Spiroff is with the firm Spiroff and Gosler. So the run-out will be with that new firm, but it's Mr. Spiroff doing the work. That's probably the single largest file that needs to finish up. The hearing before the Zoning and Planning Commission of Bensonville has concluded. However, the action before the village board in the annexation matter at the village board still needs to be processed, and Mr. Spiroff will represent the city in that case, along with Mr. Berghager and other folks that are advocates for the one-room schoolhouse. But just to provide that information as suggested that might help folks understand how this is going to roll forward.
Thanks, City Manager Borchardt. Alderman Gutenkopf.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City Manager Borchardt pretty much presaged me. I think that perhaps we were, as a council, a little remiss in not asking for specifics about which projects. We talked very generally that they were projects, and perhaps that's what caught many of us off guard. How many, how big, how long? And I was going to ask for a memo just outlining for us exactly what's left. And if these two things are the bulk of what's left, perhaps the minutes will just reflect that, because I think it's really important that we have a strong sense of what it is and how much we're still in for.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman Rose.
Just so I can understand this myself, then it's entirely possible that it might be for several months that we would have bills from former Assistant Attorney Spiroff. Is that true?
I think as the city manager said, we've identified the subject matters, and the one-room school, for instance, has gone on longer than I think we thought. A lot of things not within the control of the city of Elmhurst, and so it may be that matter in particular will go out for more than 30 days and 60. It could be 60 days. I don't
follow up. That's,
Alderman Rose.
Thank you. That's what I wanted to be clear about. Oftentimes when you say we're going to end in 60 days or something,
Well, no.
those are things generally. I want to call the attention of this city council back to when we changed, voted to move to a different city attorney. We were very clear it was not done for cause. That is very clear. And I want to make sure we understand that our continuing to use a highly qualified former city attorney in this is a good thing. It's a cost-saving thing, and if it goes on, we want to do it to the end of this particular issue, and I want to make sure that it's very clear this attorney was not, in any way, there was no sense that this was done for cause. So we are doing a good thing by doing this and following it to the end. And I think that's very clear, and we should keep that forward with us.
Thank you, Alderman Rose. I totally agree. This was definitely done the right way. Alderman Healy?
I first have a question, then I have some prepared comments. I notice on the memo from city staff that Attorney Storino's signature is not on the document. For the record, you do agree with?
It's on there now.
It's on the official one?
Yes, it is tonight.
Okay. And then I do have some prepared comments. At the last city council meeting, a vote was taken to delay payment to the former city attorney for services rendered. Having spoken with Alderman Morley and a couple of other aldermen after the meeting, it is now clear that we were put into an unfortunate situation of having to vote on an issue without any additional information or prior indication that there was a concern by the alderman who raised the issue. It was also apparent that city staff was not made aware of these specific concerns prior to last week's meeting. Had these questions been raised either to the mayor or to City Manager Borchard, the whole council would have been in a better position to discuss and address this issue last week and approve payment instead of delaying payment and casting doubts about the service and integrity of the former city attorney. Ken Kubis and his firm served Elmhurst faithfully and honestly in their some 24 years of service and deserve better from this council. For my part, I was put into a position where serious questions were raised about how much we were paying for services rendered. Without information to the contrary, I felt the 1 week delay was worthwhile in order to protect the taxpayers. Having given staff and the current city attorney enough time to investigate these concerns and provide the information we could have had at last week's meeting, information that justifies the billing of the former city attorney, I will gladly support payment and offer a personal apology to Ken Kabisa and to his firm for the delay. Thank you.
Thank you, Alderman Healy. Alderman Brown.
Thank you. The only really comment I wanted to add was, since there is the concern of when the transition will be complete, if it's not complete within the 60 days, if there could just be a general memo sent to the city council just to give a status update so we don't have to go through this again, and we could move forward with the accounts payable for hopefully all of those companies and firms listed.
Thank you, Alderman Brown. Alderman Rose.
I just have one more comment. It has to do with procedure. When we receive the accounts payable, there's always a sheet attached to it that says if you have questions. And I think in fairness to anyone, former procedure on that, and I think Alderman Healy raises a good point, is that if you have those questions, it's preferred by Friday that you get those to the city manager. If not, surely by Monday morning, so that we all should have probably at least had a glance at our packets by Monday morning, so that they have an opportunity to do that. And I think that's a procedure that made a whole lot of sense, and I would encourage all of us to go back to that if provided, ask us to provide, if you have questions about that, so that the city manager is prepared to answer those. And I think that's a procedure we use, and we should continue to use it.
Thank you, Alderman Rose. And Alderman Gutenkopf, and I'll go to Alderman Nibel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Actually, I believe that many of us are quite well aware of the procedure and have been following it now for several months. Unfortunately, the questions asked by individual aldermen do not necessarily get distributed to the entire city council, so there have been several of us who have requested specific information about accounts payable for a long period of time. Unfortunately, it came to group discussion a week ago, and it was clear during that group discussion that several of us had some detailed accounts, and that postponing this a week gave the entire council the opportunity to see the same information that some of us had access to because we had asked questions about what was in the accounts payable for clarification so that we could understand what was going on. When that happened, I think it was an appropriate opportunity for everyone to have access to the same information. So indeed, we do ask.
In writing.
Yes, in writing, with the forms, by email.
we do receive responses, and sometimes that leads to bigger discussion.
Thank you, Alderman Gutenkopf. Alderman Nybo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was just going to extend Alderman Rose's suggestion one step further in terms of procedure. I've noticed that sometimes there are very specific administrative questions that are asked from the dais up here under other business or announcements or other items on the agenda. You know, my general practice, and this, I can only speak on my own behalf, is if I've got an administrative question as to how we operate things here, I contact the city manager Borchert rather than consume everybody's time up here on the dais getting a specific answer to a specific question. And I would suggest that others take that practice as well.
Thank you, Alderman Nybo. Alderman Pezza?
Thank you, and that is something that I did pretty much for my own benefit because I am a new alderman. I do go through, and I really appreciate Marilyn Gaston, her patience and her expertise, and Johnny on the spot every Friday morning when I fax over my inquiry. I probably have anywhere from 8 to a dozen every Friday, and she's very patient and efficient, and I do get that information. And that is the reason I was concerned last week, was because I had asked the same question several times, and I don't really want to get into detail here, but that is why I asked what I asked. I was told they were wrapping their arms around the situation, trying to get me the information, and after 3 months of asking, I thought perhaps, you know, if we asked as a group and discussed it, that we could get a little further. And I'm just glad that it seems like things are getting resolved, and hopefully this will not happen again. So thank you, everyone, for your patience.
Thank you. And just so everybody knows, too, I put my hours in on every Monday morning and every Wednesday afternoon, and Monday mornings are for these questions, you know. So the last thing we want to do up here is debate something that we don't have to, and also possibly embarrass somebody. So I think that's what the gist of our conversation is up here tonight. So as the mayor, I would ask if there is a question, an issue, call the city manager, call the mayor, and we'll nip this you know, before it even goes to meeting. And the thing I felt bad is after we looked at all this, everything was in order. And the meeting last week acted as if it wasn't, and it insinuated something that I think was distasteful to our previous city attorney. So I think the overall feeling is that we need to be upfront, be a team, and work as a team. So, Alderman Morley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I agree with your last comment. Whether it was intentional or not, I came out of the last meeting, and this is more of a personal issue because I have not heard anything tonight with regard to the billing. So it's my belief that we'll vote and we will pay this bill. But I came out of the last meeting, and like I said, whether it was intentional or not, I came out of the last meeting with the feeling that either directly or inadvertently we had accused a previous city attorney of improperly billing. There was specific reference made to retainer payments and hours credited to them. I have not seen anything yet that says that they have done anything wrong. I support paying them. I think Alderman Healy said it best last week, which was it's unfortunate this came up, but regretfully we're going to support the vote to look into it, and I always appreciate the right to do so. I just think we need to be a little careful because whether it was intentional or not, I do think that it called into question the previous city attorney who, in my opinion, was very loyal and did a wonderful job for the city. So like I said, this is more of a personal issue. I, too, will offer a personal apology to Mr. Kubisa, Mr. Spearoff, and the rest of his firm.
Thank you, Alderman. Anybody else? At this time, I'd like the Clerk Spencer to call the roll, please.
Mulliner.
Aye.
Rose.
Aye.
Gutenkopf. Pezza.
Aye.
Shea.
Aye.
Leader.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Kipskin. Absent. York.
Aye.
Nybo.
Aye.
Healy.
Aye.
Morley.
Aye.
Kennedy.
Aye.
Wagner.
Aye.
13 ayes, 0 nays, 1 absent.
13 ayes, 0 nays. The motion to accept the report passes, and City Attorney Kubisa will be paid. Our next item is adjournment. As for a motion, Alderman Morley, Alderman Mulliner, all in favor by voice? Aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? We're adjourned.